Shabbat Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. For the love of money, we're going to see and listen and learn from this lesson today. I thank you all for being here. I thank you for being part of our family. And, hopefully the kingdom is not that much further off because it has been rough in these last few days in this Gentile world. And I know we're all ready to ditch this Gentile world for real. So, Shabbat Shalom, family. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another one of our weekly Bible studies. My name is Yadon Yasharal with Israelites Gathering, and the title of our Bible study today is For the Love of Money. For the Love of Money. So, we understand that money often is something that we spend a lot of our life chasing, working, thinking, putting our resources, just doing everything we can to gain this resource. Um, and we find out that once we get it, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. It's not everything that we thought it was going to be. We thought that, hey, if I had this money, things would be where I needed to be. Things would be on point. But then we get there, and then we have a whole different set of problems, which sometimes requires more money. Other times, it can't be solved by money. So it ends up being a big distraction in our lives. Ends up being a huge, huge waste of time, because money is not going to answer all the questions. It's not going to give you everything. All right. We have to understand what is going to solve our problems, what is going to answer our questions. But money, it's definitely something that's needed, but we want to keep it in its proper place. So, doesn't make you evil, but the love of it is the root of all evil. So we're going to get right into it. Before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about some current events that are going on. Try to take a look at what's going on around the world, so that we can keep up with prophecy. All right. So the first thing we want to look at is what just recently happened in Syria. A couple weeks back, I told you I had got some intel from somebody in the military that said that we're going to be in Syria in 2025, and now it's starting to make sense. So let me go ahead and share this new screen. All right, let me pull it up. All right, there we have it. All right, so the Syrian rebels topple Assad, who flees to Russia in the shakeup. So Syria has just oh wow, this crashed for no reason. All right, anyway, so Syria has basically been taken down. It's being run by rebels now, and Assad, who was the I guess the president of Syria, he has now fled to Russia. So the Syrian rebels, this is Sunday, December 8th, in Damascus. The Syrian rebels seized the capital, Damascus, on Sunday after a lightning advance that said President Bashar al-Assad fleeing to Russia after a 13-year civil war and 6 decades of his family's autocratic rule. So this family been ruling Syria for a long time, and best believe you don't get to rule a nation that long unless you got some support. Syria was one of Russia's allies. So again, you want to pay close attention. Do you see a lot of Russia's allies and a lot of different allies for the opposition are starting to fall? We're seeing a lot of unrest. So again, I'm not going to get into all the politics of what's going on over there. I just want us to pay attention to what's going on. So when you have the regime fall, you get a big interest from United States because now they can set their interest. They can put their people in place to have more control in the region right around Israel. So pay attention to that. The second thing we want to talk about is South Korea. Another similar situation. South Korea would be backing United States and would in fact backing Ukraine. All right. So South Korea's President Yoon, he's banned from traveling abroad after the martial law chaos. So last week he tried to, or he did enact martial law, stating that rebels were trying to take over his country. The same situation like in Syria, where you have rebels trying to go against the government. He tried to do martial law. They're doing criminal investigation in him. They've already arrested his one of his chief military personnel, and they have banned him from travel. So this is the first time a Korean president, while sitting in office, has been banned from travel worldwide. So that's pretty big there as well, because now you're going to look at a new regime coming in there, a new government, I guess, or new leadership, and how convenient at a time of war. So this is what's going on. Just pay attention to these little things that are going on. It's not to say that we know everything about all the details of it, but just to pay attention and understand what's going on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get back into our class. Again, the title is For the Love of Money. And we're going to open this up in Ecclesiastes chapter 10, where it says money answers all things. Ecclesiastes, Koheleth, chapter 10. And we're just going to read 2 verses there. All right, we're going to read verses 18 and 19. So let me go ahead and pull that up. And we'll go ahead and share the screen. And again, this is an open forum. So if you have questions, comments, if you have some current affairs, you got some news, you agree, you disagree, anything of that nature, as long as it's decent and in order, by all means, chime in. I don't claim to know it all. I just can tell you that we do read the scripts, and we can either confirm or deny the truth. All right, so let's pull up these scripts, do a new share. All right, we're going to Ecclesiastes chapter 10. And we're going to read verses 18 and 19. All right, so it says, by much slothfulness, the building decays. So much laziness, a building is going to fall apart. So with that building being you, being the building of Yah, with much laziness with your temple, that building is going to decay. And through idleness of the hands, the house drops through. So when you have people in your house that are just idle, don't have anything to do, the house drops through. Things fall apart. All right, verse 19. A feast is made for laughter, and wine makes merry, but money answers all. So that's what we want to look at, that term, money answers all. So let's look and see what they were talking about when they said money here. All right, so money is H3701 in the Strongs, Kesef, H3701, and that's Kesef. pH, and that is from H 3700 silver. So this is talking about like silver from its pale color, by implication, money or price or silverling. So what I really want to look at is the root of the word kaseph. If we look at the root word of kaseph is kasaph, kasaph, K-A-S-A-P-H. And notice anytime you get to the root word of these words, they always a sounding word. When you get to the root of it, that lets you know the oldest Hebrew would have been sounds. That's why all the root words are ah. All right, so kasaph, a primitive root properly to become pale. That is, by implication, to pine after, also to fear, desire, be greedy, long, sore. So you see this kind of negative root word for this silver, to become pale. You know, when something becomes pale, that's usually is dying, or it's wasting away. To pine away is to waste away. So looking at this whole concept of gold or silver, it loses value. It decreases. It's scarce. It's not going to be around. All right, so that's what I wanted to read there. Now let's go to Isaiah, Yeshayah chapter 65. I wanted to get some more basic understanding. So Isaiah chapter 65. And money has become a new religion of its own. Money has become such a focus that religions have taken great control using money and the focus of money and saying, hey, if you don't have it, well, worship with us and you get it. Or give your money to us and your problems it'll solve all your problems. So where does that come from? Is that something new with the Christian church? So we're going to read Yeshayah, Isaiah chapter 65, and we're going to read verses 6 through 12. Yeshayah chapter 65, and we're going to read verses 6 through 12. Verse 6. Behold, it is written before me, I will not keep silence, but will recompense, even recompense into the bosom. Your iniquities and the iniquities of your fathers together, says Yahweh, which have burned incense upon the mountains and blasphemed me upon the hills, therefore will I measure their former work into their bosom. Thus says Yahweh, as the new wine is found in the cluster, and one says, destroy it not, for a blessing is in it. So will I do for my servant's sake, that I might not destroy them all. And I will bring forth a seed out of Yaakov, and out of Yehoiada, an inheritor of my mountains. And my elect shall inherit it, and my servants shall dwell there. So this is talking about our land. You know, we're going to get back into our land and inherit our own place again. And then when it's talking about inheritor of the mountains, it's the government who's going to be in control of the world, Israel. All right. And his people are going to be in control. Verse 10, and Sharon shall be a fold of flocks, and the valley of Achor a place for the herds to lie down, for my people that have sought me. So this is not that Yah was seeking his people. You have to seek after him. When you seek after him, you will find him. Verse 11, but you are they that forsake Yahweh, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish the drink offering unto that number. So he's saying for the people that seek after him, he's leaving his mountains, his land, his peace, right? But he's saying us, the children of Israel, no, we the ones that's forsaking Yah, that's forgetting his holy government. And we're preparing offerings for that troop. Let's see what that troop was. And furnishing drink offerings unto that number. So that's what we have to take a look at and see that this prosperity doctrine didn't start with the Christian church. This is something that has been plaguing the children of Israel for thousands of years. All right. So when it's talking about for that troop, the Hebrew word there was God. God. You see how it's spelled? Gawd, how it's pronounced? God. Gad, H1409. And that's from H1464 in the sense of distributing fortune. All right. So I'm going to look something up real quick. Let's take a look at God. I'm going to pull that up real quick. The deity, God. All right, so let me go ahead and share this. All right, so Gad. So, there's a tribe of Gad. And then we also have here God. All right, so in English, it's very similar. Gad. But again, it's pronounced Gawd. God was the name of the pan-Semitic god of fortune, usually depicted as a male, but sometimes as a female, and is attested in ancient records of Aram. And by the way, we talked about what's happening in Damascus. Aram is Syria. Interesting. And Arabia. God is also mentioned in the Bible as the deity in the book of Isaiah 65:11. And some simply call him the god of fortune, as being worshipped by a number of Hebrews during the Babylonian captivity. All right, so stop right there. Let's go back and it talks about also and to that number, right? Well, if we look at that, let's go back to the scripts. We go back to where it said unto that number, H4507, you have many. Meniy, many. And that's from H4487, the apportioner, that is of fate. So this was another deity. This was the deity of fate. So they're making meals, leaving offerings, and preparing a table of food for the god of fortune, the deity of fortune, and also the deity of fate, Mene. So I'm going to pull up that. Let's talk a little bit about that real quick. So you can see that that's where that prosperity doctrine came from. It's not something that was new, that started with the Christian church. This is something that they've been doing. And said Gad apparently differed from the god of destiny, who was known as Mene. The root verb in Gad means to cut out or divide. And from that comes the idea of fate being mated out. So there you have it. This is nothing new. This is something that our ancestors did, and this is passed down. This belief of a god of fortune. Now, this is no different than when we go to church and say, "Well, I'm going to sow a seed so that I can get a good deed could happen. I can get money, welfare, blessed and highly favored, all of that stuff." Right? That's where all this comes from. This is something that our ancestors have been suffering from. All right, so let's go into a next reading here. Let's take a look at Sirach, because we hold money up so high, but money is not going to add to our lives at all. So we're going to go to the book of Sirach. So we're going to have to go into the 1611. If you do not have access to the 1611 King James, that's the first King James that they wrote before they start pulling out all the books. Then you can go to our website at israelitesgathering.com, and you can access any of our books that we have that we read out if you can get to it for free. So we're going to go to Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, chapter 38, and we're going to start this at verse 24. And there's a reason why the devil uses money He uses money as a huge distraction. All right, we're going to start this at verse 24. And what is he trying to distract us from? And Shalom, sis Sharita, good to see you. All right, so Sirach 38. And we're going to start this at verse 24. The wisdom of a learned man comes by opportunity of leisure, and he that has little business shall become wise. So we know in order to get that money, we're going to have to be about that business. So we cater our lives to the business of getting money. But we're being warned here that wisdom of a learned man comes by opportunity of leisure. And when you constantly chasing that money, you don't have time for leisure. You work yourself so tired that you come home, you go straight to sleep. Are you studying? You have time for a Bible study. You have time to meditate on the script. You have time to apply some of what you learned. No, because you chasing that money. So where does the wisdom go? Verse 25, how can he get wisdom that holds the plow and that glories in the goad, that driveth oxen and is occupied in their labors, and whose talk is of bullocks? So when your talk is constantly about, hey, how can I make money? How can I increase this business? And we're not saying don't be successful, but know what you're doing. If you're spending all this time, it talks about holding the plow, constantly working, sowing seed, plowing, glorifying in the goad, just getting all your fame is from putting that nail in the ground, driving oxen. Everything is about bullocks. Where's the talk about scriptures? Where's the talk about salvation? Where's the talk about repentance in history, right? It's not there because the focus is on money. And it's not saying that you're bad, because you need money to take care of your family. You need money to grow. You need money to take care, to provide luxuries and things of that nature. So it's not a bad thing, but it can pull away your focus. Verse 26, he gives his mind to make furrows and is diligent to give the kind fodder. So every carpenter and workmaster that labors night and day, and they that cut and grave seals and are diligent to make a great variety and give themselves to the counterfeit imagery and watch to finish a work. So all these people here, these carpenters, these master workers, right? They labor night and day because they're dedicated to what they do, whether they love it or whether they're after the money. They're putting forth all their effort into mastering this skill. We need these people, but at what cost, right? The smith also sitting by the anvil and considers the ironwork. The vapor of the fire wastes his flesh, and he fights with the heat of the furnace. The noise of the hammer and the anvil is ever in his ears, and his eyes look still upon the pattern of the thing that he makes. He sets his mind to finish his work and watches to polish it perfectly. So he's putting craftsmanship and he's, suffering and toiling to create this fine piece of craftsmanship that he's putting together. Verse 29, so does the potter sitting at his work and turning the wheel about with his feet, who is always careful to set at his work and maketh all his work by number. He fashions the clay with his arm and bows down his strength before his feet. He applies himself to lead it over, and he is diligent to make clean the furnace. All these trust to their hands, and everyone is wise in his work. So again, they trust in their abilities, their physical ability. They don't have to have faith in the Most High that they're going to be able to do a good job. They trust in what they can physically do, what they can physically see, what they have done with repetition over and over and over. And they've done it so long, they've become wise. They have wisdom, but wisdom in work. All their time was put towards that. So they have wisdom in work, and they may have created a successful life for themselves. All right. Verse 32. Without these cannot a city be inhabited. All right. So again, these people are needed to do these type of works. Without them, we won't have a city. Who's going to build the buildings? Who's going to make the metal gates? Who's going to, do the electricity? Who's going to set the floor? Who's going to do these things? Right? And they shall not dwell where they will, nor go up and down. All right. So it's acknowledging we got to have these people. We need these type of people in our community. But at what cost? Verse 33. They shall not be sought for in public council, nor sit high in the congregation. They shall not sit on the judge's seat, nor understand the sentence of judgment. They cannot declare justice and judgment, and they shall not be found where parables are spoken. So when it comes to the wisdom of this word, when it comes to the wisdom of salvation, when it comes to the righteous judgment in the community to keep holiness, they're not going to be sought for because that's not their wisdom. The wisdom is in the earthly carnal things. Now, a lot of us in our time are this way for money reasons, not because we're an expert in this and that. A lot of in this time, this is what your father taught you. You were a smith because your father was a smith. He was a blacksmith, so your name was Smith. So that's what you did. Your father was a carpenter, like Yahushai. Yosef, his father who raised him was a carpenter. So that's what Yahushai did. But now it's different. We chasing that money. We perfecting things for money because we say, I got to get this money to get mama a house. I got to get this money so I can get these cars, get these girls, get these jewels, or whatever the case may be. Or I just want to have a nice, comfortable life. So in order to obtain that type of riches and that type of mastery, often you have to sacrifice the leisure time. And guess what? Through much leisure is the opportunity to gain wisdom and the things that are going to affect salvation, life. Everything that these craftsmen build is going to eventually wither away. But the wisdom of righteousness and a righteous life and a name in this earth can carry on for generations. Verse 34, but they will maintain the state of the world, and all their desire is in the work of their craft. So some people are made for these things. They were made to be craftsmen. They were made to create certain things and to have a focus to do things, just like the cells in the body and the blood goes to specific parts of the body and specific parts of your life and your time and your day. It's designed to do so. But understand at what cost. If you have the ability to gain the wisdom in this word, to attain unto salvation, but you force your attention towards the carnal things of this world, don't be surprised if you looking to be somebody who's, going to have wisdom in that area. You're not going to have it because you don't have the opportunity to go gain it. So let us consider, what do we consider important? All right, so let's move on. Let's go to Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19. So again, we're not saying, hey, you shouldn't, want to be wealthy and want to be in a position where you can take care of things. And we never would say that. But just understand, you put too much focus. If you let that be your focus, instead of I want what Yah has for me, you can get carried too far in the wrong direction. So we're at Matthew chapter 19, and we're going to read 16 through 30. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, Why call you me good? There is none good but one, that is Elohim. But if you will enter into life, keep the commandments. So, hey, he went straight to the point. Hey, you want to live forever? Keep Yah's commandments. Verse 18. And he said unto him, which Yahweh Shai said, you shall do no murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, honor your father and your mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. The young man said to him, all these things I have kept from my youth up. What lack I yet? Yahweh Shai said unto them, if you will be perfect, go and sell what you have and give to the poor, and you shall have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. So, all right, keep the commandments. All right, it's your normal duty. Fear Elohim and keep the commandments. That's the whole duty of man. Great. But you want to live forever. He said, put this word over your prized possessions, over your wealth, over your comfort of saying, hey, I don't got to worry. Money answers all, right? I got bread. So whatever problem I got the bread. Give that away to people who really need it, the poor, who don't need that to just survive, and come be about this word. You about that money? Don't be about that money now. Be about this word after you've already obtained the money. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. So again, he went away because he knew he wasn't willing to give up. If the word calls you, you better be willing to give up everything that you have to go follow the word. And the word is the word of Yah. That means when Yah talk to you, these scriptures speak to you, you got to be willing to sell everything and go follow it. Verse 22, verse 23. Then said Yahweh Shai to his disciples, yes, I say unto you that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again, I say unto you, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Yah. All right, so the kingdom of Yah, first of all, the kingdom of Yah is within. That's Yah in you. The kingdom of heaven is in heaven. The kingdom of Yah is within you. So Yah can't enter into you when you all about riches, because you're going to do whatever you got to do to keep them riches. That's why it talks about a camel going through the eye of a needle. So you can look at a physical camel trying to stick it through a literal eye of a needle, or you can, go what the metaphor was talking about. When you are traveling into Jerusalem, you got to go through these mountains and these caves. Sometimes they're so tight that you can't even get the camel through. So to get the camel through, which is usually carrying all your goods, you got to remove all the items off of the camel so you can get the camel through and then bring some of the items through. But people didn't want to let go of the goods, so they would get stuck. So the rich, you don't want to. Sometimes you can't get all your stuff. It's too big to go through that needle or that passageway. So now you got to decide, I need to get here, but am I willing to let go of my possessions? So for the rich man, it's hard. The more you have, the harder it is to let go. Verse 25. When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, who then can be saved? But Yahweh Shai beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with Elohim all things are possible. So to be rich through men, through your work, and not through Yah, you ain't gonna make it. But if you through Yah are able to get wealthy, then it's possible. And that means you always keep Yah at the head of things. Verse 27. Then answered Kepha and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed you. What shall we have therefore? And Yahweh Shai said unto them, verily I say unto you that you which you have followed me, in the regeneration when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon the 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yasharal. And everyone that has forsaken houses or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. So when the word calls you, when righteousness calls you, and you have to forsake certain things, because sometimes you got to make decisions between doing righteousness, between doing what Yah has for you to do, and doing what is dear to your heart. Nobody want to forsake your house or your brother or your sister, your father, your mother, your wife or your children or land. But if you do it for righteousness' sake, for the word's sake, not for money's sake, if you do that for money's sake, you a fool. You failed the test. But if you are chosen and called out, and how you know you're chosen is because it's the right thing to do. You have to do the right thing. Not because, you wanted to be famous or you wanted to get money or you had your agenda, but for the word's sake, because the Father has put that in you. Then you will receive 100-fold and inherit everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So those that put themselves last shall be first, and those that put themselves first shall be last. Praise Yah. So let's move on. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 28. Mishlei chapter 28. And this class here, I've been trying to do this class for at least 2 weeks now. 3 straight classes, something came up constantly. So I know this is the one of them classes that ain't gonna be the most popular ones because everybody want that money. Everybody's out for money. People are engulfed in it because they are dependent on it. But we got to put it in its proper place. We got to make sure that we don't fail the assignment by trying to make ourselves more comfortable in this life and forsake our eternal life. Because the devil will use money easily to distract you, easily to confuse you, make you think, well, you're doing it for a good cause. Because every man's right in his own eyes. Remember, the heart is exceedingly wicked. Who could know it? So we got to keep it in its place, and we got to keep things in proper perspective. So when we're seeking the money, because we're going to seek it, we got to get it. It's a capitalistic country. We're not telling you not to get money. We need money. We need donations. We need all this stuff, right? We're not telling you not to get it. We're just saying, hey, let's use the scriptures to keep it in the proper context so that we don't get used by the adversary, the devil. Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 28. Let's start this at verse 1. The wicked flee when no man pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion. So when you're doing righteousness, you should have no fear whatsoever. So when you got to do the right thing, there should be no spirit of fear in you, because that's Yah's will. It's for you to do righteousness. So you should have no fear. Now, you doing wickedness, be afraid, be very afraid. That's why the wicked flee and ain't no man pursuing them. Verse 2, for the transgression of a land, many are the princes thereof, but by a man of understanding and knowledge, the state thereof shall be prolonged. A poor man that oppresses the poor is like a sweeping rain, which leaves no food. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. All right, so those that forsake the law, they're going to give all the praise. That's why they're going to have all the viewers, all the followers, all the money, all the fame. Because those that forsake the law, they're going to praise them. They can't help it. But those that keep the law are going to contend with them. They're going to say, nah, that's not righteousness. Mind your business. Why are you judging me? Okay. Verse 5. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek Yahweh understand all things. So you can seek to understand money understand business so you can put yourself in a more comfortable position, or you can go seek Yahweh, and all things will be added unto you. And he's not saying stop everything and just go read the Bible, but put things in his proper place and watch how he increase you on the other sides. Better is the poor that walks in his uprightness than that he is perverse in his ways, though he be rich. So where we see this rich person walking around in perverse ways, because he's willing to do whatever it takes. He's willing to go, mislead people with his celebrity, participate in wickedness, in wicked rituals in order to get ahead. He's rich, right? But what will be the end of that man? Look what's going on to our celebrities. They're making examples out of him now. Now they pull your boy Jay-Z into it. Well, how do you think you became a billionaire? You think they let you do it with righteousness? And I'm sure there's a lot of great business work being done. But to become a billionaire, when these people are gatekeepers, come on. Verse 7, whoso keep the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of riotous men shall shame his father. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. He that turns away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. So if you're not trying to hear the law, if you're not trying to hear correction and rebuke from your brothers and sisters when they say, hey, you can't do that, that's against the law. Yah said don't do that. Then turn around and pray to Yah for help or for increase or whatever, your prayer is abominable to him. Whoso causes the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit. But the upright shall have good things in possession. So all those that are misleading, that are using you for money, pushing you in an evil way to gain financial benefit, they're going to fall in that same pit. The rich man is wise in his own conceit, but the poor that has understanding searches him out. When righteous men do rejoice, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, a man is hidden. He that covers his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confess and forsakes them shall have mercy. Happy is the man that fears always, but he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief. As a roaring lion and a raging bear, so is a wicked ruler over the poor people. The prince that wants understanding is also a great oppressor, but he that hates covetousness shall prolong his days. So when you want what belongs to you, when you want what Yah has for you, this is what will prolong your days, because that will keep you away from the evil. A man that does violence to the blood of any person shall flee to the pit. Let no man stay him. Whoso walks uprightly shall be saved, but he that is perverse in his ways shall fall at once. So it's going to be quick. He that tills his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that follows after vain persons shall have poverty enough. So those that do the work, they're going to have plenty of food. Those that follow after vanity and vain people that are not doing righteousness, not showing you the right things, you will have poverty. A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that makes haste to be rich shall not be innocent. And that's one verse we definitely want to key on, right? He that makes haste to be rich, when you are rushing to gain a lot of money, you can't do that through innocence. Now you work hard and it takes time and you build it up. You can obtain things. But when you do it in haste, quick money, you can't do it in innocence. It doesn't work that way. It's not designed that way. The system wants you to sacrifice your holiness to gain it. Verse 21, to have respect of persons is not good for a piece of bread that man will transgress. For a piece of bread that man will transgress. He that hastes to be rich has an evil eye and considers not the poverty shall come upon him. Since he's hastening to be rich, his eye can't see righteousness. All it sees is, how can I come up? How can I make money? He's not seeing that this is going to bring poverty to you, because now your vision is off. Your vision is not what's right and what's wrong. It's, how can I make money? Verse 23, he that rebukes a man afterwards shall find favor, that he that flattereth with the tongue, more favor than that he that flatters with the tongue. So yeah, you might not get favor at first because people don't want to hear when you telling them what they doing ain't right. Everybody wants you to agree with them. That's why they create the block button, right? So that somebody don't agree with you, just block them. Well, in life, when somebody rebukes you and then the Holy Spirit sits on you or prevents you from doing wickedness and saves you from something, you're going to give favor to that person. Yeah, you might be upset at first, but after a while, I appreciate that. Verse 24, whoso robs his father or his mother and says it is no transgression, the same is a companion of a destroyer. He that is of a proud heart stirs up strife, but he that puts his trust in Yahweh shall be made fat. All right, so there's some sharp warnings right there about hasting to be rich and what hasting to be rich does to your eyesight. It gives you an evil eye, an eye that sees evil, to do evil. Let's go to Psalms chapter 49, Tehillim chapter 49, because the devil has convinced us that money is gonna buy us out of things because the wicked want it. So because the wicked could take it, and the wicked will cause you mischief and say, well, if you give me money, I won't, if you give me money when I'm robbing you, I won't kill you, or whatever the case may be, right? But it doesn't get you out of trouble. Yah gets you out of trouble. It might get you a lawyer. Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 49, and let's start this at verse 1. Hear this, all you people, give ear, all you inhabitants of the world, both low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. I will incline my ear to a parable. I will open my dark saying upon the harp. Wherefore should I fear in the days of evil, when the iniquity of my heels shall compass me about? They that trust in their wealth and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to Yah a ransom for him. So your money means nothing. Your wealth, your riches, they can't save your bro. You might be able to pay for some medicine or extend his life, but you can't save him. You can't save his salvation. You can't extend his days. Only Yah can do that. For the redemption of their soul is precious, and it ceases forever, that he should still live forever and not see corruption. For he sees that wise men die. Likewise, the fool and the brutish person perish and leave their wealth to others. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Nevertheless, men, being in honor, abide not. He is like the beasts that perish. This their way is their folly, yet their posterity approve their sayings. Like sheep they are laid in the grave, death shall feed on them, and the upright shall have dominion over them in the morning. and their beauty shall consume in the grave from their dwelling. But Yah will redeem my soul from the power of the grave, for he shall receive me. Be not you afraid when one is made rich, when the glory of his house is increased. For when he dies, he shall carry nothing away. His glory shall not descend after him. And when you look at here, but Yah will redeem my soul from the power of the grave, for he shall receive me. That is prophetic of Mashiach, Yahushua. Hallelujah. Again, I am the volume of the book. Who else? Soul, breathing body, breathing flesh was redeemed from the power of the grave. Only one man. Verse 18, though while he lived, he blessed his soul, and men will praise you when you does well to yourself. He shall go to the generation of his fathers. They shall never see light. Man that is in honor and understands not is like the beast that perish. So if you don't gain understanding, then you will be just like anybody else. So you have choice of how you're going to spend your time. You can spend all your time chasing these physical things and this money and trying to, create wealth so that you can leave it behind. And not to say that any of these things are wrong, but at what cost? Let's go to Acts, the books of Acts, chapter 5. Because once you gain that money, now you got a whole different set of issues and problems. Like Biggie said, more money, more problems, right? All right. Acts chapter 5, and we're going to read 1 through 11. But a certain man named Ananias, with Sapphira, his wife, sold a possession. All right. So let's look at where we're at now. This is the beginning of Mashiach's assembly. And you have the children of Israel that are believers. They have sold everything they had, left Jerusalem and went out into the wilderness and are trying to keep the law, trying to serve Mashiach in peace without being attacked. And everybody agreed that we will all be one. It didn't matter what you had. Everybody would put it all together and we split up and divide it, and everybody would get as needed. All right. So Ananias and Sapphira are rich. They sold a possession. And verse 2, and kept back part of the price. His wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. So the wife knew that this wasn't all that they had. But Kepha said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit and to keep back part of the price of the land? While it remained, was it not your own? And after it was sold, was it not your own power? Why has you conceived this thing in your heart that you have not lied unto men, but unto Elohim? And Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost. And great fear came upon all them that heard these things. So why, the churches will use this story to see this is why you got to tithe. And no, what's really going on here? What's really going on here is he's trying to hedge his bet against righteousness. In case this righteousness don't work out, I want to make sure I still got some. Everybody else is giving their all, but you're refusing to give your all because you got a little bit more goods than everybody else. So you don't want what Yah has for you. You want more than your brother and your sister. Verse 6. And the young man arose, wound him up, and carried him out, and buried him. And it was about the space of 3 hours after, when his wife, not knowing what was done, came in. And Kepha answered and said unto her, Tell me whether you sold the land for so much. And she said, yea, for so much. Then Kepha said unto her, how is it that you have agreed together to tempt the spirit of Yahweh? Behold, the feet of them which have buried your husband are at the door, and shall carry you out. Then fell she down straightway at his feet and yielded up the ghost. And the young man came in and found her dead, and carrying her forth, buried her by her husband. And great fear came upon all the church and upon as many as heard these sayings. So again, this is about the principle of giving all. And you are supposed to give all. You agreed to give all. You agreed, you believed in this new body of Christ that was being built, this new assembly. But you didn't believe enough to let go of your possessions, to let go of your goods. Even though you agreed to do it, you had to have more than everybody else. And that is a problem. And that's why that is the common disease of the rich. Because what do you need $1 billion for? How are you telling me you can hold $1 billion while all these people are suffering just in your own family, just in your own people, especially being an Israelite, knowing the condition of our people, the last in the world? Yet we have the greatest spending power, which makes no sense. How could you be comfortable doing that? Only one way, that your comfort level is having more than everybody else. That's the only way you'll be comfortable. All right, let's go to Lucas chapter 12. Luke chapter 12. So these parables are warnings to us. You made this commitment, you got immersed, you agreed, you made this offering. I offer self. When you do an offering, the whole offering is offered, not a piece of it. So you say, okay, I offer myself, but then you hold back. You hold back some of your talent so you can make money, when that talent could be used to save souls. And you know this because you have that talent, but saving souls ain't profitable. Trust me, I promise you it ain't. But guess what? That's what that's what you were created for. Are we not the light? Are we not the salt of the earth? You take a lamp and put it under a table, or you put it up top so everybody can see it. We the light of the world. But we busy focused on being the greatest money makers in the world. And that's where they get those terms from Jewish people being cheap and Jews being cheap. That originally came from us. Didn't want to do nothing for our people, especially around atonement when we letting go our servants. We didn't want to take care of them. We want to leave them so poor that they had to come right back and serve. Lucas chapter 12. And let's start this at verse 13. And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother, that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or divider over you? And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consists not in the abundance of things which he possesses. So when we start to value our life on what we possess, we can start to develop covetousness. And many of us have this covetousness towards the rich. I'm upset because the rich has it. Man, listen, at what cost do they have to do to get that? What evil eye do they have to take to get that? And I'm not saying all rich, but many, because remember he said hardly. He didn't say it was everybody, but he said hardly. What did they have to go through to become rich? Bear with me one second. What do they have to go through to become rich? But see, we envy that. That's why we're warned not to envy the rich. Your life is more than what you possess. Verse 16. And he spoke a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have much goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. So what's wrong with that? So he did very well, and he realized, man, I got so much money. I can't even put it all in the bank. I know what I'll do. I'll go to a bigger bank and put even more money in there. And say, I got money for years. Let me be easy and rest. Right? What's wrong with that? That's the American, isn't that the American dream? Well, let's see what Mashiach had to say. And Elohim said unto him, you fool, this night your soul shall be required of you. Then who shall those things be which you has provided? So is he that lays up treasure for himself and is not rich towards Elohim. So what this man didn't realize is everything that is in your possession doesn't belong to you. But a covetous person ain't gonna see that. If I got it, it's mine. It must be mine. No. Did he consider his brothers or his sisters or the poor? Did he consider anybody else? He said, no, I got enough for me and for many years. That's the mind frame of the capitalist. I'm a millionaire, I can become a billionaire. I'm a billionaire, I can become a trillionaire. Not, hey, I have money, I have means to help people. No, I have means to help myself. An evil eye. How do you not see this? If you got 100 starving people around you, you wake up and your garden overgrown with food, and you're like, and you can't see, hey, we good. Starving people, hungry people, we got food. If you can't see that, what kind of eyesight do you have? The evil eye. And he's training us how not to have the evil eye. Here, verse 22, and he said unto his disciples, therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, neither for the body, what you shall put on. The life is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment. So don't sweat these things. Consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which neither have storehouse nor barn, and Yah feeds them. How much more are you better than the fowls? And which of you, taking thought, can add to his stature 1 cubit? If you then, being not able to do that thing which is least, why take you thought for the rest? So you ain't gonna change anything. You worrying and worrying and worrying about something that you not the one that's making it happen. Yah's making it happen. You can't change it. So why are you taking all this stress on things that you can't change? Focus on the things you can change, which is your behavior, your discipline, your attitude, your faith, your priority. Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Shlomo in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then Elohim so clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? He can make the flowers and the blooms, the most beautiful things in the world, that we don't even have outfits that can match the beauty of these natural occurrences. Then what makes you think he ain't gonna take care of you and make sure you have, and make sure that you're beautiful? Doubt. That's what. And seek not what you shall eat or what you shall drink, neither be you of a doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knows that you have need of all these things. The Gentiles don't know Yah like that. So they seeking after all these things. sons and daughters of the king. We know we supposed to have it. We ain't supposed to worry about it. We ain't supposed to have a doubtful mind. We supposed to do what we supposed to do and know we gonna have it because we the kings and queens of the earth. But rather seek you the kingdom of Yah, and all these things shall be added unto you. So you have to have faith in his word. If you don't have faith in his word, you ain't seeking the kingdom of Yah. You ain't trying to bring his Holy Spirit to dwell in you. Because that might tell you, hey, bro, you looking with the evil eye. We don't want to hear that because that don't generate income. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that you have and give alms. Provide yourselves bags with which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that fails not, where no thief approaches, neither moth corrupts. For where your treasure is, there your heart be also. All right, so let's stop right there. So there your heart be also. Again, everything that you have doesn't belong to you. That's where this look at where this tithing comes in. All right. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's look at this law of tithing. Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 14. So we can understand the concept. Tithing has been so abused and misused that we felt like this is just wrong. Clearly this ain't what we supposed to be doing. Or we feel like I have to do this in order to be blessed. I have to just be taken advantage of. Well, let's learn what the law says so that we don't do either. Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 14, and we're going to read 22 through 29. You shall surely tithe all your increase of your seed that the field bringeth forth year by year. So what's tithe? Let's look that up, see what that means. Tithe. H6237. Asar, and that's to accumulate, but use only the denominative form to tithe, that is to take or give a tenth. So a tenth is a tithe. 10% is a tithe. So you shall truly give 10% of your increase of your seed that you shall bring forth year by year. So that's the law. Whatever you develop, 10% of that is a tithe that belongs to Yah. Verse 23, and you shall eat before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which ye shall choose to place his name there. The tithe of your corn, of your wine, of your oil, of your firstlings of your herds, and of your flocks, that you might learn to fear Yahweh your Elohim also. So he's teaching us not how to have that evil eye, how not to have selfishness and covetousness by saying, hey, look, I know this is in my power, but this don't belong to me because Yah say this. So I can't be wanting stuff that don't belong to me. If I'm taking stuff that belongs to me and giving it away because I understand that it don't belong to me, although it's in my possession. You can't be covetous when you're practicing those type of things. Verse 24. And if the way be too long for you, so that you are not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from you, which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to set his name there, when Yahweh Yaham shall have blessed you, then you shall turn it into money and bind up the money in your hand, and you shall go unto the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose. So again, tithe initially was your produce. Because remember, the tribes inherited land that they didn't create. They weren't from there. This is what Yah gave them. So they developed on that land, all of the tribes, except for Levi, all got an inheritance, and they made money off of the produce. They fed themselves. They made wine. They did all these things. And Yah's like, remember who gave this to you. 10% belong to me. And it says, well, if you're too far, then those things, chop it down to some bread and tithe with the money. So that's where we are now. We don't have the land no more. We have the money or the silver, right? So that's what we tithe. Verse 26, and you shall bestow that money for whatsoever your soul lusts after, for oxen or for sheep or for wine or for strong drink or for whatsoever your soul desires. And you shall eat it there before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. And the Levite that's within your gates, you shall not forsake him, for he has no part nor inheritance with you. At the end of 3 years, you shall bring forth all the tithe of your increase the same year, and shall lay it up. And the Levite, because he has no part nor inheritance with you, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow which are within your gates, shall come and shall eat and be satisfied, that Yahweh your Elohim may bless you in all your work of your hands, which you do. So that's where your tithe is supposed to go. It's supposed to go to the Levite, which means the priest that didn't have a job, right? Because he didn't have no inheritance. He couldn't till the land. And it's supposed to go to the fatherless, the stranger, the widow, the poor people. That's who it's supposed to go to. It's an instant built-in welfare system. So if the entire population is giving a tenth of what they have, there'd be no poor in the land. There'd be no robbing and stealing, because the opportunity is there for those who can't. That's what the tithe was created for. It wasn't created for the pastor to be rich and live in a mansion and eating Michelin star restaurants and all that. That's not what the tithe was for. It was to take care of the poor, because the Levite was poor, as well as the other poor, the others that did not have coverings, like the widow don't have a covering, the fathers don't have a covering, the stranger don't have coverings. All right, let's move on. Let's see how this was taken advantage of. All right, but before we do that, we are in 2024, about to be in 2025. Should we still tithe? If you're a believer in Christ, did he nail tithing to the cross or the torture stake? All right, one verse, we're going to answer that whole question. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 23 and 23. Matthew chapter 23 and verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of mint, anise, and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law. So far it sounds like he's kind of, chastening these Pharisees because they tithing, right? So then the cherry picker is going to say, look, this is red writing, Christ telling you, woe to you because you tithing. So why are you tithing, right? All right, well, he says, first of all, you're omitting the weightier matters of the law. What does your tithe mean? You feeding the poor, but then yet you killing the poor people. You creating poor people by stealing. You're doing all kind of things of that nature. Look at the weightier matters of the law. Judgment, judge yourself that you be not judged. Mercy means the same measure you meet to others is the same measure is going to be met to you. You want mercy, so you give mercy. And faith, having faith that if you do Yah's will, you do righteousness, it'll all work out. Do that first, right? These ought you have done, and not leave the other undone. There it is, Matthew 23 and 23, letting you know that yes, you are still supposed to tithe. But again, there's order. Just like when it talks about the money, it's saying, not saying don't make money, don't seek after money. It's don't do things out of order. making money the main focus. And he's putting it right here in focus. Do the weightier matters of the law first, and then don't leave the other matters of the law undone. There you have it. Tithing is still in effect. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to Malachi chapter 3. This is the famous one that they like to use about tithing, so they can fleece the flock and get some money about you. Let's read it. Malachi chapter 3. Let's go ahead and start this at verse 1. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Adonai whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom you delight in. Behold, he shall come, says Yahweh of hosts. So we know that's prophecy. Once again, prophecy of Mashiach, when he was immersed. And that spirit came down in the shape of a dove, the Holy Spirit. And Yah said, this is my son, my only begotten son, in whom I'm well pleased. Verse 2. But who may abide in the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire and like a fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yahweh an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Yehuda and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yahweh, as in the days of old, as in former years. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, says Yahweh of hosts. So this is who he's going to come judge. He's coming to deal with these sorcerers. And this language that we speak in English is sorcery. We saying all kind of spells we don't even know when we say happy birthday or I'm happy. We don't even know what we saying. That's a pagan god. Even with the term God is pagan. Sorcery they doing to us. Giving us pharmakeia pills, drugging us up, making us feel like we're better because we can't feel the pain. Meanwhile, our kidneys and liver is wasting away. Verse 6. For I am Yahweh, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Even from the days of your fathers, you are gone away from my ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, says Yahweh of hosts. But you said, wherein shall we return? And the problem is we don't even know he left us because we didn't know him. Will a man rob Yah? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed you? In tithes and offerings. And how are we robbing him in tithes and offerings? Yeah, we giving him tithes and offerings. We surely doing that. But they're not worthy. They're abominable to him. Because how you going to turn around and make an offering to Yah, but then you mistreating his children? You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring you all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, says Yahweh of hosts, if I would not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Are you going to have faith in his word? Or are you going to have faith in the Wall Street Journal? Or are you going to have faith in, TikTok and Facebook telling you how you can get rich overnight? All you need to do is invest this money. Or you can use the little bit of your dispensable money, disposable income. I guess that 10% is disposable, right? and do the right thing and help your nation, help the poor, help the fatherless, the widow, the Levite, or the priests. Verse 11. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. Neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, says Yahweh of hosts. And all nations shall call you blessed, for you shall be a delightsome land, says Yahweh of hosts. Your words have been stout against me, says Yahweh, yet you say, what have we spoken so much against you? You have said it is a vain to serve Yah. And what profit is it that we have kept his ordinances and that we have walked mournfully before Yahweh of hosts? And now we call the proud happy. Yea, they that work wickedness are set up. Yea, that tempt Yah are even delivered. And that's what we're seeing. We're looking at the rich prospering in our eyes. They're prospering, right? We call the proud happy. Arrogant, proud, Zed. Ashar, straight, honest, prosperous. Verse 16. Then they that feared Yahweh spoke often one to another, and Yahweh hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Yahweh and that thought upon his name. So Yah's considering our thoughts. Are you thinking of him? Are you thinking about that money, that bread? Which one you thinking about? The bread from heaven or the bread with the dead white president on it? Verse 17, and they shall be mine, says Yahweh of hosts, in that day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them as a man spares his own son that serves him. Then you shall return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serves Yah and him that serves him not. Praise Yah. So let's look at the root of all evil. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6. So we got to be willing to tithe. And one of the big tithes that we don't talk about is Mashiach, how he tithed in his life. Mashiach became immersed at about 30. He died at about 33. That's 10% of his life. 10% of his life as the son of Yah, he spent ministry, offering his body, offering his work, giving the perfect tithe. All right, so let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6. We can start this at verse 1. We're going to start this at verse 1. Excuse me. 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 1. Let as many servants as are under the yoke count their own masters worthy of all honor, that the name of Yah and his doctrine be not blasphemed. So this is saying when it's talking about masters, this is not necessarily the slave master. This is whoever you work for, whoever has hired you to do a job. Give them honor so that they say, oh, I hired the servant of Yah. Then they won't blaspheme Yah's name by saying, man, they supposed to be the children of Yah. Man, these people lazy. Man, these people wicked. Yah the one who's getting the damage. And they that have believing masters, let them not despise them because they are brethren, but rather do them service because they are faithful and beloved, partakers of the benefit. These things teach and exhort. So especially if you work for your own people, you definitely want to do righteousness towards them. If any man teach otherwise and consent not to wholesome words, even the words of our Adonai Yahweh Shai Mashiach, into the doctrine which is according to godliness, he is proud, knowing nothing, but doting about questions and strifes of words, whereof come envy, strife, railings, evil surmisings, perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds, and destitute of truth, supposing that gain is godliness. From such withdraw thyself. And see, this is what that prosperity doctrine is about. It's destitute of the truth because it's corrupting people's minds, showing them the opposite of what they're supposed to be focusing on, and supposing that gain is godliness. That, hey, if you making money, that's godliness. But godliness with contentment is great gain. So when you are righteous in your acts, you're trying to repent from your wicked deeds, you're trying to do the right thing, you're making sure that you are tithing properly to the Most High, then whatever situation that has you in, being content in that situation, that is how you're going to get great gains. For we brought nothing into this world, and it's certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. And that's what riches does. It's a blessing to many of us that we're not rich, because we wouldn't know how to handle it. We'll fall into hurtful lusts. So if you got a female problem, you got a problem with women, guess what? You get money, it's going to be a destructive problem that you cannot control. If you got a problem with drugs, you got a problem with food, you got a problem with pride and power or violence or whatever, money just removes the barrier. Verse 10. Why? Because for the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money is the root of all evil, because we need money. We need silver. We need trade. We need to be able to trade. We need to be able to have commerce. But the love of this, you're not supposed to love this money. When you love something, you're going to obey it. You're going to serve it. You're going to protect it, right? Well, if you love Yah, you're going to obey him. You're going to serve him. You're going to protect him. Well, you can't have two masters. Which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. So again, the love of money is the root of all evil. So let's go to the conclusion. Let's go to Haggai chapter 1. Haggai chapter 1. So again, the word is simply helping us keep things in its proper order. It's not telling you that you can't get money, or you can't, be good at what you do, and it's not telling you that you have to be poor. It's not saying none of that. But it's keeping things in perspective, because you put Yah first, he'll add everything unto you. But you have to have faith. And you can't expect that he's going to drop it out the sky. You got to do some work. But not so much work that you don't have the leisure to study unto your own salvation. Haggai chapter 1, and we're going to read 1 through 11 for the conclusion. In the second year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, in the first day of the month, came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet unto Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehudah, and unto Yahshua the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, saying, Thus speaks Yahweh of hosts, saying, This people say, the time is not come, the time that Yahweh's house should be built. Then came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O you, to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lie waste? So is it time, he's saying, is it time for you to stay in your nice multi-level with sealed houses, the houses with multiple levels and sections, all while we don't even have a house of Yah? Now, therefore, thus says Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. You have so much and bring in little. You eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there's none warm. And he that earns wages to put it into a bag with hold. Does this not describe our condition right now? No matter how hard we work, how much we bring in, we don't have enough. Now, how much we eat, we ain't never full. We never satisfied. Every time we earn, something else happens. It's like, man, the money just keep falling away. Consider your ways. What order do you have? Are you tithing? And when I mean tithing, are you giving a tenth of all that you have? Go up to the mountain and bring wood. Verse 7. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the mount and bring wood and build the house. And I will take pleasure in it, and I will be glorified, says Yahweh. You looked for much, and lo, it came to little. And when you brought it home, it did blow upon it. Why? Says Yahweh of hosts. Because of my house that is waste, and you run every man into his own house. So you have your own house, but Yah has no house to dwell. You supposed to be the house for him to dwell in. But you're not preparing that temple. You're not getting rid of those unclean things and keeping those hedges trimmed. You about you and yours and your money. Therefore, the heaven over you is stayed from dew, the earth is stayed from her fruit. And I call for a drought upon the land and upon the mountains and upon the corn and upon the new wine and upon the oil and upon that which the ground brings forth and upon men and upon cattle and upon all labor of your hands. So again, consider your ways is what Yah's trying to say. Where are we putting our attention? All of our attention is into us, into our own situation. All the meanwhile, how's his temple? How's his temple doing? Are we taking care of the things that he needs? So let's consider our ways. Let's consider that everything that we have does not belong to us. Everything that we make does not belong to us. Everything that's in our possession does not belong to us. A tenth off rip. A tenth of what we make, a tenth of what we produce belongs to the welfare system of the poor, the widowless, the widows, the fatherless, those that are in need. So when we're out and about and we see the poor that are asking for it, that's your tithe. If you don't have a congregation that you can support, and even if you do have a congregation you can support, just consider all that money in your wallet don't belong to you. And that's covetousness to think that it does because it's in your power. So that's all we're going to do today. Again, many of us, we are enjoying the ending of our Hanukkah, our dedication. Yah's will, we'll see you for Shabbat. We are trying to get, things together. We've been dealing with a lot. Understand that when we do these classes, when we any of the servants, is not just me, any of the servants decide to dedicate their life to trying to spread this word. Remember, the whole host of heaven rejoices at the repentance of a single sinner. So those of us that are out here to help and focus on this type of work, we under heavy attacks. Our households are under attacks. Our minds are under attacks. Our kids are under attack. Our bank accounts, our finance, our ability to do these works, everything to get us to focus on the things that are of this world so that we don't do what we do. So definitely keep us lifted up in prayer if you are able to tithe. Because, I don't stress it because I know we poor people, man. But at the same time, we spend the most money. So again, if we can redirect money towards our ministry, by all means do so. You can donate via Cash App and money sign S word ATL. or you can go to our website, Israelite Gathering. You can reach out to us. There's many different ways. Tithing doesn't have to always be money. If you have food, if you have coats, clothes, things that we can distribute to those that are in need, by all means, reach out to us. If you haven't already, download our app for Android or iPhone. Thank you to everybody that has downloaded it and has uploaded profiles and are supporting us. And if you haven't checked out our website, IsraeliteGathering.com, check it out. You can also download everything that you need directly from that website as well. We also have the podcast up now. So on the website, you will see our podcast, which will be up as available as well. So if they shut down the video aspect, we will have audio going. So that's all we're going to do today. Yah's will, we will see you for Shabbat. Until then, Yah be with you and your families. Shalom.
Well, that was a good lesson. That was actually very good, you know? So, y'all, thank you so much for being here. I deeply appreciate it. And we'll do this all over again next week, as usual. And I pray for the angels to keep you all safe and protected always. And a special blessing to all of you that have donated to my Give, Send, Go. And I pray that the Most High will watch over each and every one of you and keep us all safe in all four corners of the earth in this wicked Gentile world. Shabbat Shalom, family.